Well, I'm now going to talk about clothing, Sean. You may want to listen to this, but I'll say goodbye to you until we next speak. Sean, thank you very much indeed. Sean Griffiths is the education editor at the Sunday Times, and I'm moving on to talk about a company called Bladerunner. Bladerunner has created a clothing line made of anti-slash Kevlar-lined hoodies. So Kevlar is let this man tell you about this, but you can have Kevlar in your scarves, in your gloves, and all sorts of things. Jeremy Marks is a director of Bladerunner. Tell us about Kevlar and the technology. Good evening to you, Jeremy.
Hi, Eamonn.
Tell us about how it works.
So basically, Kevlar is a material that gets anti-slash. We also use a couple of other materials that protect from cuts even better than Kevlar. So there's Dyneema and there is Spectra. And we line everyday products, gloves, T-shirts, hoodies, jackets, scarves. We line them with these materials to protect people. So if they come into contact with knives and, for example, with a glove on, if they do feel the need that if they can't back out of the situation and they feel the need to put a hand or to use a hand to defend themselves, they can do so with a little bit more confidence that they're going to...
Except what I'm picking up here, that we're talking about slashing as opposed to stabbing, so it could be preventative for a slash, but not so much for a stab?
No, well, what happens to prevent a stab is you need multiple layers of this material. You need about 16 layers of it.
Is this the sort of stuff that police officers and security officers wear?
It is. They look like bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
And once you're putting that many layers together to prevent a stab, you lose the mobility and the dexterity that you could have in gloves, or that you need in gloves or arms. So you just have it across your body.
Got you.
We do plates that you can put across your chest.
Isn't it awful that we're even talking about this? I mean, right, it's a business for you, but here is my point. The sort of kids that we're talking about this, a lot of inner city deprived kids, the people who actually need this clothing, it must come at a price, mustn't it? I mean, will they be able to afford that?
It does come at a price, and to be honest with you, one of the things that's quite shocking about this is only the last 2 days, we've done an exhibition that's geared towards counter-terror.
Yeah.
And the amount of police departments and healthcare workers that have come to us saying they're not issued with things like this because there's no funding for it. And they're having to buy them themselves. They're only some of the things we do are £10 a glove, £20 for a pair of a steel and Kevlar thread within a glove. It's the type of glove you see kitchen staff using if they're cutting. They're using to protect their hand from cutting themselves.
I mean, normally when I would speak to business people or entrepreneurs like yourself, or people who invent something that is very useful, you'd be wishing them all the best. But it seems like a double-edged sword, really, doesn't it?
Yeah,
because
it is.
Yeah, because the more successful you become means that this business is still happening out there on the streets.
Yes, well, I mean, we've been doing this for about 20 years now, so it's not a new thing for us. We supply, like I said, police, security, that type of customer we've had for a long time, because unfortunately they come. We also supply people like glass manufacturers, but they come into contact with that kind of threat. But you're right; it's a shame that people are needing them for their children or for themselves to walk around. Okay. I went past a shop the other day in London where the security guard was confronting someone who'd obviously been caught shoplifting, and they were all backing away because
they didn't know.
Smash a bottle, pull out a knife, pull out a needle.
Got you.
But then, of course, they back off and leave this guy on the street, this angry person on the street, who can then go and do it to anybody.
Jeremy, sad, but obviously very good for what you're doing, and you've been doing it for 20 years. That's Jeremy Marks, director of a clothing company called Bladerunner. They've created a clothing line made of anti-slash Kevlar-lined hoodies, scarves, and gloves. Back after this.